The Picture of Dorian Gray Chapter 1. In a beautiful studio. The sun was shining through the big window. The room smelled like flowers and paint. It was the studio of Basil Hallward, a famous artist. He stood in front of a large painting. A young man sat in the picture, looking calm and beautiful. Lord Henry arrives. Basil's friend, Lord Henry Wotton, was also in the room. He was tall, smart, and had a lazy smile. He spoke slowly, with a voice that made people listen. "It is a wonderful painting, Basil," said Lord Henry. "Yes," Basil answered. "But I won't show it in public." Lord Henry looked surprised. "Why not? It's your best work." "A secret in the portrait." Basil turned away. "There is too much of myself in it," he said quietly. Lord Henry laughed. "You mean you're in love with the boy in the picture?" Basil didn't answer right away. "His name is Dorian Gray," he said softly. "Dorian Gray. He is very beautiful," said Lord Henry. "Yes," Basil said. "He changed my art. He changed me." "Introduce me to him," said Lord Henry, smiling. Basil looked worried. "No, he is innocent. Your ideas are dangerous." Lord Henry laughed again. "All ideas are dangerous." The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 2. A beautiful morning. The next morning, Basil and Lord Henry were in the studio again. The big portrait of Dorian Gray was finished. It stood on an easel, bright and full of life. "Dorian is coming soon," said Basil. Lord Henry smiled. "I'm looking forward to it." Dorian arrives. They heard a knock at the door. Then Dorian Gray walked in. He was about 20 years old. He had golden hair and clear blue eyes. He looked like a perfect statue. "Good morning, Basil," he said kindly. Then he saw Lord Henry. "This is Lord Henry Wotton," Basil said. Lord Henry shook Dorian's hand. "You are exactly as I imagined," he said with a smile. Dorian laughed. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" Talking about beauty. They sat and talked for a while. Lord Henry watched Dorian closely. Then he began to speak slowly. "You are young, Mr. Gray. And you are beautiful. But youth does not last. One day, you will get old, your face will change. Your beauty will be gone." Dorian listened. He looked uncomfortable. Lord Henry continued, "When you are old, you will not be happy. So enjoy your beauty now. Live your life. Feel everything. Don't waste your youth." Dorian said nothing. He looked down at the floor. "The painting is shown." Basil stood up. "Let's not talk about sad things," he said. "I want to show you the painting." He turned the portrait toward Dorian. Dorian stared at it. He couldn't speak. It's amazing," he said softly. "It looks like me but better." Then he looked sad. "Someday I will get old. But the picture will stay young." A strange idea came to his mind. "I wish I could stay young forever," he said. "I wish the painting would grow old instead of me." Basil looked shocked. "Don't say that," he said quickly. "That's a terrible thought." But Lord Henry smiled. He looked at Dorian with interest. "The wish." Dorian stood in front of the painting. He looked at his young face. He spoke quietly. "I would give anything to stay young forever. I would give my soul." The room became very quiet. Basil looked upset. But Lord Henry's eyes were shining. "It's just a joke," Dorian said. But his voice was low. Basil said, "Let's go out into the garden. It's too hot in here." The three of them left the studio. But the painting stayed behind, smiling with perfect beauty and holding a dark secret. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 3. A rich house in London. A few days later, Lord Henry went to visit his uncle. His uncle was very old and knew many people in London. Lord Henry wanted to know more about Dorian Gray. Do you know the Gray family? He asked. His uncle nodded. Yes, Dorian's mother was a beautiful woman. She married a poor soldier. Her family was angry. What happened to them? Lord Henry asked. The husband died in a fight. Then she died too, very young. Dorian was raised by his grandfather, a cold and cruel man. Lord Henry listened carefully. He now understood why Dorian looked innocent and sad. A garden meeting. Later that day, Lord Henry went to see Dorian. They walked together in a beautiful garden. Dorian was smiling and relaxed. He liked Lord Henry's clever words and ideas. Tell me more, Dorian said. You speak like no one else. Lord Henry smiled. I only speak the truth. You are young and beautiful, Dorian. That is the most important thing you have. Is it really so important? Dorian asked. Yes, Lord Henry said. Nothing is more valuable. Youth is power. Beauty is freedom. One day you will understand that more. The fear of time. Dorian was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I'm afraid of getting old. Everyone gets old, said Lord Henry. But smart people enjoy their youth while they have it. Dorian looked into the distance. Sometimes I feel like time is chasing me. Lord Henry said, don't run from time, use it. Feel everything. Love, laugh, cry. Live your life fully. Dorian smiled, but in his heart, a new fear had started to grow. Back to the painting. Later that evening, Dorian went back to Basil's studio alone. The painting was still there. He stood in front of it. It's still perfect, he whispered. And I still look the same for now. He touched his own face. Then he touched the face in the painting. I wonder, can a wish really come true? He thought. The room was silent. The picture said nothing. But deep inside, something had already begun to change. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 4. A new Dorian. It was now many weeks later. Dorian Gray had changed. He still looked young and beautiful. But his heart felt different. He thought more about Lord Henry's words. He wanted pleasure, excitement, and freedom. He stopped seeing Basil often. He spent more time with new people, artists, actors, rich men, and women. Basil was worried. You are not the same, Dorian, he said. Dorian only smiled. I'm just living my life. A young actress. One night Dorian met a young actress. Her name was Sybil Vane. She worked in a small theater in a poor part of the city. She played Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. Dorian watched her perform. Her voice was soft and full of emotion. He came again the next night. And the next. He was falling in love. A love like a dream. After one show, he waited outside the stage door. She came out in a simple dress. Her eyes were big and dark. You are wonderful, Dorian said. My name is Dorian Gray. I know, she whispered. I've seen you in the audience. They smiled at each other. In the days after, Dorian visited her every evening. He brought flowers. He read poetry with her. They laughed and walked together. I love her, Dorian told Lord Henry. She is pure. She is art. Lord Henry raised an eyebrow. You fall in love too fast, Dorian. But this is different, Dorian said. She is Juliet. She is Ophelia. She is real beauty. A big decision. One afternoon, Dorian rushed into Basil's studio. He looked excited. I'm going to marry her, he said. Basil was shocked. Marry her. But she's only a girl from a small theater. I don't care, said Dorian. She is perfect to me. Lord Henry just laughed. This will be interesting. Dorian didn't listen. He was dreaming of love. The picture watches silently. That night, the portrait stood in the studio. Still young. Still beautiful. But, if someone looked closely, they might see a small change, a tiny shadow around the mouth. It was too small to notice, but it was the beginning. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 5. Sibyl's home. Sibyl Vane lived in a small, old apartment. She shared it with her mother and her brother, James. Her mother was proud. She dreamed that Sibyl would become rich and famous. James was strong and quiet. He was going to work on a ship soon. But before he left, he wanted to speak with his sister. A brother's warning. I don't trust this man, James said. You don't even know his real name. He's called Prince Charming. Sibyl smiled. It's our secret name. James frowned. Has he asked you to marry him? No, but he loves me. I know it. If he hurts you, I'll kill him, James said. Don't be silly. Sibyl laughed. But her eyes looked a little worried. Mother's advice. After James left the room, Mrs. Vane spoke to Sibyl. You must think carefully, she said. This young man may be rich. He may help us. I don't care about money, Sibyl said. I only care about love. Her mother sighed. Love is sweet, but life is hard. Sibyl looked out the window. She was thinking about Dorian. Her heart beat faster. Night at the theater. That night, Sibyl went to the theater again. She was going to play Juliet, like always. But this time, she didn't feel the same. She was thinking about Dorian, not the play. Dorian sat in the audience, watching her. Basil and Lord Henry were there too. The curtain opened. Sibyl walked onto the stage. But her voice was flat. Her eyes were dull. She forgot lines. She moved like a stranger. The audience whispered. Some people laughed. What is wrong with her? Lord Henry asked. She's terrible tonight, Basil said softly. Dorian said nothing. He felt cold. After the show. After the play, Dorian went backstage. Sibyl was waiting for him with a soft smile. Did you see me tonight? She asked. Yes, he said. What happened? I couldn't act, she said. Because I felt real love. Before. I acted because I didn't know love. But now with you, I don't need to pretend. Dorian stared at her. You ruined the play, he said coldly. You embarrassed me. It was shameful. Sibyl's smile disappeared. But I gave you my heart, she whispered. You killed my love, Dorian said. I never want to see you again. Then he turned and walked away. Alone in the streets. Dorian walked through the dark streets. His heart felt heavy. But his mind was full of anger. I loved her because she was art, he said to himself. Now she's just an ordinary girl. He walked faster. He didn't see the moon. He didn't hear the wind. Behind him, the theater lights went out, and somewhere inside, Sibyl was crying. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 6. The next morning. The next morning, Dorian woke up late. The sun was shining into his room. He remembered everything. Sybil, last night, he sat up. He felt a mix of guilt and pride. Maybe I was too harsh, he thought. But it's better this way. He walked slowly to the studio. He wanted to look at his portrait again. A shocking change. When he entered the studio, he stopped. He stared at the painting. Something had changed. The face was still young, but the mouth now looked different, cruel, cold, with a small sneer. He stepped closer. Is it the light? He moved around the painting. But the strange expression stayed. Dorian touched his own lips. They were soft and calm. But in the painting they looked unkind. A terrible thought. Dorian remembered his words, "I wish I could stay young." And the painting would grow old. Could it be? He whispered. Did my wish come true? He began to shake. I must be dreaming. It's only paint and canvas. But deep inside, he felt fear. And something darker, excitement. A letter comes. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. A servant handed Dorian a letter. He opened it. It was from Lord Henry. He read the first line. Then he dropped the letter. It said, Sybil Vane is dead. She killed herself last night. Dorian's reaction. For a moment, Dorian stood still. He felt like time had stopped. Then, slowly, he walked to a chair and sat down. He picked up the letter and read it again. She's dead, he whispered. She really loved me. And I left her. He covered his face with his hands. But only for a moment. Then he stood up. His face looked calm again. Lord Henry visits. Later that day, Lord Henry came to visit him. I'm sorry, he said. But don't feel guilty. It's not your fault. She killed herself because of me, Dorian said. She killed herself because she loved you. That's poetic, Lord Henry said. It makes her death beautiful. Dorian looked at him. Do you really believe that? Yes, Lord Henry said. She was an actress. She died in a dramatic way. That suits her. Dorian took a deep breath. I don't want to feel pain anymore. Then don't, Lord Henry smiled. Come with me tonight. We'll go to the opera. Dorian paused. Then he nodded. The painting waits. That night, Dorian left the house with Lord Henry. He laughed. He listened to music. He smiled at people. But back in the studio, the painting stood alone. Its young face looked the same. But its eyes were harder now. The soul inside the canvas was beginning to change. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Chapter 7. A Secret Decision. The next morning, Dorian went into the studio. He stood in front of the portrait. He looked at the cruel smile on the face in the painting. I cannot let this happen, he said. This painting will show my soul. Every time I do something wrong, it will change. He touched the canvas. It knows my secrets. It sees who I really am. Dorian made a decision. I will hide it. No one must see this picture again. Hiding the portrait. That afternoon, Dorian called for his servant. I need to move this painting, he said. To where, sir? The man asked. To the old school room upstairs, Dorian answered. No one uses it. Lock the door after. The servant brought strong men. They carefully carried the painting up to the dusty old room. Dorian watched them. He said nothing. When they were gone, he locked the door himself. He kept the key in his pocket. Life as usual. That evening, Dorian dressed well and went out. He visited a private club. He drank wine and talked with rich friends. He smiled, told jokes, and laughed. No one saw anything strange in him. But inside, Dorian felt something different. He was hiding a secret, a growing darkness. Talking with Basil. A few days later, Basil came to visit. I want to see the portrait again, he said. I miss it. I'm proud of that work. Dorian smiled politely. It's in storage now. I don't want to look at it. Why? Basil asked. You used to love it. I've changed, Dorian replied. Basil looked sad. You've changed a lot, Dorian, since Sybil's death. I don't want to talk about that, Dorian said sharply. Basil nodded slowly. All right. I'll go now. Alone again. That night, Dorian went back to the locked room. He opened the door and lit a candle. The painting waited in the shadows. He looked at it. Now, the face was even colder. The eyes were sharp. The mouth looked crueler. But the skin was still smooth. Still young. Dorian whispered. I still look perfect. No one will ever know. Then he locked the door again and walked away. The pictures stayed in the darkness, carrying the weight of Dorian's sins. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 8. Alone with the past. Dorian sat alone in his room. The lights were low. The air felt heavy. He thought about Sybil Vane, her smile, her voice. The way she looked at him on the last night. She loved me, he whispered. And I destroyed her. He closed his eyes. For the first time in days, he felt truly sad. A new thought. But then, another thought came. What's the point of pain? Dorian asked himself. It doesn't help. It doesn't change anything. He stood up and looked in the mirror. His face was still perfect. Smooth skin. Bright eyes. No lines, no shadows. I am young. I am beautiful, he said. And she is gone. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. The world is full of pleasures. I won't waste time. The hidden picture. Later that night, he went up to the locked room. He opened the door and lit a candle. The painting stood in silence. The face was still his, but not. It had changed again. The mouth was crueler. The eyes seemed to follow him. It is my soul, Dorian whispered. Every evil thought. Every bad choice, it stays here. He touched the frame gently. You will grow old. You will carry the scars. And I will stay young forever. A new beginning. The next morning, Dorian wrote 2 letters. One to Lord Henry. One to Basil. In the letter to Lord Henry, he said. You were right. Life is about beauty and pleasure. Pain is useless. I choose to be free. In the letter to Basil, he said nothing about the portrait. Only that he was feeling better. Then, Dorian packed a small bag. He told his servant not to wait up. That night, he left the house and disappeared into the streets of London. He was looking for something, and he knew exactly where to find it. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 9. Basil returns. The next day, Basil came to see Dorian. He looked tired and worried. "I came to say goodbye," Basil said. "I'm going to Paris for a few months." Dorian smiled politely. "Enjoy your trip." Basil looked at him closely. "Are you angry with me, Dorian?" "No," Dorian said. "But we're not as close as before." Basil sighed. "I miss our friendship. You have changed so much." Dorian didn't reply. Questions and warnings. Before leaving, Basil stopped at the door. "There are rumors about you," he said. "People say terrible things." "What kind of things?" Dorian asked coldly. "That you go to strange places. That you spend time with dangerous people." Dorian laughed. "I live how I want, Basil. But it hurts me," Basil said. "People judge you. And they judge me too, because I painted you." Dorian walked to the window. The sun touched his golden hair. "You care too much about gossip," he said. "I don't." The request. Then Basil said quietly, "Let me see the portrait. The one I painted." Dorian turned quickly. "No," he said, "you can't." "Why not?" "Because I've changed. And maybe the painting has changed too." Basil looked confused. "What do you mean?" Dorian's voice was sharp now. "You won't see it. Ever." Basil looked shocked. Then he nodded slowly. "All right," he said. "But I still care about you, Dorian." Then he left the room. Alone again. Dorian walked slowly to his chair. He sat down and looked at his hands. "Basil still loves the old me," he thought. "But that Dorian is gone." He thought of the portrait upstairs. "It knows everything. It sees me clearly." He smiled sadly. "I'll lock it away forever, and no one will ever know who I really am." Outside, the sky grew darker. Inside, Dorian lit a candle. And his secret stayed hidden, safe in the room above. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 10. An old book. Lord Henry visited again. He brought a small yellow book and gave it to Dorian. "This book changed my life," said Lord Henry. "I think you'll enjoy it." Dorian opened the book. It told the story of a young man in Paris who lived only for pleasure. The man loved clothes, jewels, music, and perfumes. He did not care about others. He only followed beauty and feeling. Dorian read for hours. A dangerous idea. Dorian could not stop reading. The story felt strange and beautiful and true. "It's like reading about myself," he thought. "This is the life I want. This is the path I choose." He read the book again the next day. And the next. Soon, he bought more books like it. He began to copy the man in the story. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 11. Many years passed. Years went by. But Dorian Gray did not grow old. His face stayed young, fresh and beautiful like a perfect statue. People were amazed. "How can he still look 20? They asked. Some said he used special creams. Others said it was magic. The changing portrait. The painting did not stay the same. Its face was aging. The skin had lines and shadows. The eyes were darker, full of secrets and lies. The smile had become ugly, cruel, and cold. A strange life. Dorian's life became stranger. He stopped seeing many of his old friends. He made new ones, people who lived dangerously. He visited secret clubs. He spent time in dark streets. He searched for new pleasures and didn't care who he hurt. Some people loved him. Others were afraid of him. But everyone agreed Dorian Gray never changed. Rumors. Whispers followed him. I heard he ruined that young man. They say she died after seeing him. He's dangerous but so beautiful. Still, people came to his parties. Still, women smiled at him. Still, men wanted to be him. Dorian smiled back. He wore white gloves and spoke with charm. But behind his smile, his heart felt empty. Beauty and nothing more. Dorian collected many things. Rare jewels. Old books. Strange perfumes. He decorated his home with rich objects from around the world. He tried to fill his soul with beauty, but nothing lasted. He was always searching. Always wanting more. Still, his face stayed perfect. And the portrait locked away grew uglier each year. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 12. A stormy night. It was a dark, rainy night. The wind hit the windows. The fire in Dorian's house was burning low. Dorian was sitting alone, drinking wine. The room was quiet. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was Basil Hallward. A painful visit. Dorian, Basil said, I'm leaving for Paris tomorrow. But I had to speak to you first. Dorian stood up slowly. He looked calm but cold. What is it, Basil? I've heard more terrible stories, Basil said. People say you ruined lives, that you lead others into darkness. Dorian said nothing. I didn't believe it at first, Basil continued. But the rumors grow. Friends avoid your name. Dorian walked to the window. Rain was tapping on the glass. A final question. I must ask you one thing, Basil said softly. Is it true? Does it matter? Dorian asked without turning. It matters to me, Basil said. I loved you once as an artist, as a friend. There was silence. Let me see the portrait, Basil said. I want to see the soul I painted years ago. Dorian turned slowly. You really want to see it? Yes. Opening the door. Without a word, Dorian took a key from his pocket. He walked upstairs. Basil followed him. They reached the old schoolroom. Dorian opened the door and stepped inside. He lit a candle. The room was cold. Dust covered the floor. The painting stood in the center. It was covered by a cloth. Dorian pulled it away. Basil sees the truth. Basil gasped. He stepped back, his face pale. This is your portrait. The face in the painting was old, ugly, twisted. The eyes were full of hate. The mouth looked cruel and evil. It was once beautiful, Basil whispered. My best work. What happened to it? Dorian's voice was low. It is the truth, Basil. The truth of who I am. Basil turned to him, horrified. You have destroyed yourself. The fire within. Dorian's hands shook. His face was pale, but still beautiful. Why did you come tonight? He said. To save you, Basil said. But maybe it's too late. Something inside Dorian broke. He suddenly felt rage, fear, shame. He looked around the room. He saw a knife on a table. His hand moved without thinking. The end of a friend. There was a cry. Then silence. Basil fell to the floor. The candle flickered. And the portrait. Watched it all happen.
The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 13. A body on the floor. Basil lay still on the cold floor. His eyes were open, but empty. Blood slowly spread under his body. Dorian stood over him, breathing hard. His hand still held the knife. The room was quiet. Only the wind outside made a sound. Then Dorian whispered, "I did this, and now it's done." Cleaning the mess. Dorian walked downstairs. He washed his hands. He changed his clothes. He looked in the mirror. His face was calm. There was no sign of guilt. But he could still feel the fear in his chest. I must think clearly, he told himself. No one saw him come. No one knows. A dangerous idea. That night, Dorian sent a message to a man named Alan Campbell. Alan was a scientist and an old friend. They had not spoken for a long time. Dorian had once helped Alan. But he also knew Alan's darkest secret. The next day, Alan arrived. "What do you want, Dorian?" he asked coldly. "I need your help," Dorian said. "I won't help you," Alan replied. "You will," said Dorian. Then he handed Alan a piece of paper. Alan read it. His face went white. "A terrible favor." "What do you want me to do?" Alan asked, shaking. "There is a body upstairs," Dorian said. "You will make it disappear." Alan looked at him in horror. "You're a devil," he whispered. "Maybe," said Dorian. "But you will do it." Alan said nothing. Then he followed Dorian upstairs. Time passes slowly. For hours, Dorian sat in the library. He heard no sound from the old schoolroom. Finally, Alan came downstairs. His face was pale, his hands shaking. "It's done," he said. "Don't ever speak to me again." Then he walked out the door and never looked back. The painting changes again. That night, Dorian went upstairs alone. He looked at the portrait. It had changed once more. There was blood on the hands in the painting. A red stain, like the one on the real floor. Dorian covered the portrait quickly. He didn't want to look anymore. Not now. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 14. A quiet morning. The next morning, the sky was gray. Rain fell softly on the windows. Dorian sat at his table, drinking coffee. He tried to read a book, but he couldn't focus. His mind kept going back to the night before. He told himself, "Basil is gone. Alan cleaned everything. No one knows. But his hands were cold. His chest felt tight. A quick escape. He suddenly stood up. I can't stay here. He thought. I need to go away, even just for a while. He packed a small bag. Then he left the house and got into a carriage. Take me to the countryside, he said. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. A peaceful place. He stayed in a friend's house outside the city. The air was fresh. The fields were green. People there smiled at him. They had no idea who he really was. For a few days, Dorian felt better. He rode horses, walked in the woods, and listened to music. But at night, when he was alone, his thoughts returned. He saw Basil's face. He saw the knife. He heard Alan's voice. You're a devil. A letter arrives. One morning, a letter came. It was from Lord Henry. Everyone is talking about Basil's trip to Paris. The letter said, strange that no one has seen him. But I'm sure he's just working in secret, as always. Dorian folded the letter. He doesn't know. He whispered. No one knows. Not yet. The hidden truth. After a week, Dorian returned to the city. His servant said nothing. Everything in the house was quiet. Dorian went straight to the locked room. He opened the door slowly. The painting was still there. He pulled off the cloth. Now the face looked older. The mouth had deep lines. The hands were red with blood. Dorian stared at it for a long time. He didn't speak. He didn't cry. He just closed the door and locked it again. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 15. A party at Dorian's house. That evening, Dorian hosted a dinner party. The table was full of rich food and golden candles. Soft music played in the background. Lord Henry was there, laughing and telling stories. A few ladies and gentlemen sat around the table, smiling. Dorian looked perfect, as always. He smiled, joked, and poured wine. No one saw the pain behind his eyes. Empty talk. One guest said, Basil has been so quiet lately. Has anyone heard from him? Dorian felt a sharp pain in his chest. He quickly smiled and answered. He's probably hiding in his studio. You know how artists are. The others laughed. Only Lord Henry looked at Dorian for a moment. A little too long. Then he smiled and said, Well, secrets are good for the soul. Dorian's thoughts. After dinner, Dorian went to the library alone. He sat near the fire and drank brandy. He thought, how can I still smile? How can I sit with friends when Basil is dead and the painting is watching me? He looked at his hands. So clean. So young. But he remembered what they had done. A dangerous memory. He opened a small drawer in his desk. Inside was the letter Basil had written. The one he never answered. He read the words again. I miss you, Dorian. Please let me see the painting again, just once. Dorian closed the letter and held it tightly. I wish I had burned this. He whispered. Lord Henry's question. Later, Lord Henry joined him in the library. You look tired tonight, he said. Just a little. Dorian replied. Do you believe in punishment? Lord Henry asked suddenly. Dorian looked at him, surprised. What do you mean? I mean, do you think we pay for our sins? Dorian's face stayed still. No, he said. Nothing ever catches up with us. If we are clever. Lord Henry smiled slowly. I hope you're right. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 16. Into the night. Late that night, Dorian left his house. The streets were cold and dark. He wore a long coat and a black hat. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He walked fast. His face was pale. His eyes looked wild. He turned into a narrow street. Then another. And another. He was heading to a place he promised never to return to. The opium house. At the end of a dirty alley, he stopped. There was a red light above a black door. He opened it and walked inside. The room smelled of smoke and poison. Men and women lay on dirty beds. Some were silent. Some were laughing or crying. This was an opium house. A place where people came to forget. Dorian paid the man at the desk. Then he went to the back room and lay down. He breathed in the heavy air. I want to feel nothing. He whispered. Not guilt. Not fear. Nothing. A voice in the dark. As he closed his eyes, a voice behind him said, That man should be dead. Dorian sat up quickly. A tall man stood in the shadows. You look the same. The man said, You haven't aged a day in 18 years. Dorian's heart stopped. Who are you? He asked. The man stepped into the light. My name is James Vane. He said. You ruined my sister, Sybil Vane. She killed herself. And now, I'm here to kill you. Life or death? James pulled out a gun. Dorian froze. I didn't mean to hurt her. Dorian said. You left her. James growled. You're the reason she's dead. Dorian stepped closer. Look at my face. He said. I'm too young. I can't be the man you're looking for. James stopped. That happened 18 years ago. You would be older now. Dorian's face was calm. His skin was perfect. He looked no older than 20. James lowered the gun, confused. Maybe I'm wrong. A lucky escape. Dorian walked quickly out of the house. Outside, he ran down the street. His hands were shaking. That was close. He thought. But it worked. My face saved me. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 17. A garden party. A few days later, Dorian had a party at his country house. The sun was shining. The garden was full of flowers and music. Lady Narborough, a kind older woman, was talking with Lord Henry. A few young people walked around, drinking tea and laughing. Dorian sat on a white bench, smiling. He looked relaxed and handsome. No one could see the fear still inside him. Talking with Lord Henry. Lord Henry sat next to him. You seem quiet today. He said. I didn't sleep well. Dorian replied. Nightmares? No. Just a strange feeling. Like something is following me. Lord Henry laughed. It's only your imagination. Or your past. Dorian said nothing. He looked out over the garden and tried to smile. But his hands were cold. A face in the window. Later that evening, the guests were having dinner. Candles lit the room. Laughter filled the air. Suddenly, Dorian turned his head sharply. He had seen something outside the window, a face. A man was watching him from the trees. Just for a second. Then he was gone. Dorian stood up quickly. His glass fell and broke on the floor. Everyone looked at him. "Are you all right, Dorian?" Lady Narborough asked. "Yes. I just felt dizzy." He lied. Fear returns. That night, Dorian walked around the house alone. He checked every window, every door. Was it James Vane? He whispered. Did he follow me here? He looked into the garden, but saw nothing. Still, he couldn't sleep. He sat in a chair by the fire. His heart was full of fear again. I cannot escape my past forever, he thought. One day, someone will know the truth. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 18. A Morning Walk. The next morning, Dorian walked in the woods. The air was cold and fresh. Birds were singing in the trees. He walked alone, hoping to feel calm again. But every sound made him turn his head. He kept thinking. James Vane is watching. He could be anywhere. A happy group. Not far behind him, some guests were having a picnic. They laughed and talked as servants set out food. Suddenly, a woman screamed. Everyone ran toward her. She pointed at the trees. There, behind the bush, a dead man. A shocking discovery. The gamekeeper came with his gun. He pushed through the branches. There, lying face down in the grass, was a man. His face was cold and pale. There was a gun in his hand. And blood on the ground. The man was dead. Dorian's reaction. When Dorian heard the news, he ran to the place. He looked at the body. His heart stopped. It was James Vane. The end of the chase. No one knew who he was. They said he was probably a hunter who had an accident. But Dorian knew the truth. He stood silently, staring at the man who had followed him. Then he whispered. It's over. He's gone. For the first time in many days, Dorian felt something like peace. But deep down, he also felt something darker. A quiet guilt. And a strange emptiness. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 19. A Talk with Lord Henry. A week later, Dorian had tea with Lord Henry. They sat in a quiet room filled with flowers and books. Dorian looked tired, but calm. I've been thinking, Harry, he said. I want to change. Lord Henry smiled. Change? You? Yes. I want to live a better life. Dorian said. No more lies. No more pain. The old beliefs. Lord Henry laughed softly. You always say strange things when you're bored, he said. I'm not joking, said Dorian. I've done terrible things. I want to make them right. Lord Henry shook his head. We are what we are, he said. Guilt is just a trick of the mind. Enjoy your life, Dorian. That's all that matters. But what if pleasure leads to pain? Dorian asked. Then it's still life, Lord Henry said. And life is the only thing worth loving. A quiet confession. Dorian looked down at his hands. I hurt someone recently, he said. But I stopped before it was too late. I walked away. I made a better choice. Lord Henry raised an eyebrow. Bravo, he said. But do you think one good choice erases the past? Dorian didn't answer. He just stared into his cup of tea. A dangerous idea. That night, Dorian went home. He stood in front of the locked door upstairs. He held the key in his hand. I tried to be better, he thought. But the painting knows everything. It still looks at me with hate. He opened the door. There it was, the portrait. Still full of cruelty. Still marked by blood and sin. The final question. Dorian lit a candle and looked at the face in the painting. Why won't you change? He whispered. I did something good. I tried. Why do you still look like this? There was no answer. Only silence. And the painted eyes. Watching. The Picture of Dorian Gray, Chapter 20. The Last Night. It was late at night. The house was quiet. Everyone was asleep. Dorian stood alone in the old schoolroom. The candle in his hand was shaking. He looked at the painting. The terrible face, the bloody hands, the evil smile. This is my soul, he whispered. This is who I really am. A final thought. He remembered his youth. He remembered Sybil. He remembered Basil. And James Vane. So many lives. So much pain. I wanted to stay young forever, he said. But I didn't know the price. His hands trembled. If I destroy the painting, maybe I can destroy the evil too. Maybe I can be free. The last act. He picked up the same knife he used before. The same one that ended Basil's life. He held it tight. Then he turned toward the painting. You've shown me the truth, he said. Now it's over. And with all his strength, he stabbed the knife into the heart of the painting. The end of The Secret. A loud cry echoed through the house. Servants woke up and ran upstairs. They broke down the door of the old room. Inside, they found a man lying dead on the floor. His face was old, wrinkled, and full of fear. They didn't recognize him. But on the wall was a beautiful portrait of Dorian Gray. Young, pure, and perfect again. Final lines. The painting was restored. But Dorian was gone. He had tried to hide from the truth. He had tried to hide behind beauty. But in the end, the soul always tells the story.